Happy Monday, everybody. Welcome back to another exciting edition of Deep Recruiting with Jim Bright. Today, we're going to be covering two important topics to help you succeed. The first one is going to be mirroring, which is a body language technique you can use to build rapport. The second item we're going to cover is anchoring, and where we're going to focus on is anchoring for you, how you can anchor your brain to certain things, and we'll touch briefly on how you can anchor your prospect to certain emotions so that you can close a little bit more business. We want to hear from you. Email us at deeprecruiting@teamgtn.com. Let us know your thoughts, ask us questions, challenge us. We'd love to bring your idea, challenge, or problem to a live broadcast so that we can cover it. And yeah, it's always exciting being challenged with a new concept, a new idea, something that makes us think and apply our brain power to solve that issue. So Deep Recruiting at Team GTN, throw that challenge down. The harder it is, the more likely we're going to bring it to you on our weekly live stream. And of course, our podcast is now available on Spotify. It's now available on iTunes. Go check us out there. You can run us at double speed if you can understand that. Get through this super quick. Get those good ideas, get on with your life. Anyway, let's go ahead and get started with mirroring. Now, mirroring is basically it's the act of imitating your prospect's body language, and this is critical, a lot of people miss this, and their emotional state. You do this to build rapport with them. Now, when you first meet somebody, you don't start mirroring exactly what they're doing immediately. You give it a little bit of time, probably about 30 seconds, because you don't want to make your interaction with them very awkward. The timing will become obvious as you practice this and as you sync it up with conversation with people, okay? Now, the technique operates on an unconscious level to build the emotional connection required for true rapport. It builds the bond that allows you to lead them through the sales process. After a little bit of time of mirroring and you've built rapport, the way you test this rapport is you break the mirroring and you begin to lead the body language. And if they follow you, if that connection you felt was real, they will actually begin to follow your body language. That's when you know you are leading the conversation. You're going to be leading them not just in their body language, in their emotional state. And when your prospect follows you, that's when you know that you've built trust and you're actually directing the conversation. You're now in control of the conversation. You're in control of leading it to where it's going to go, where you want it to go, where you want it to be. And this is all about the control you establish up front through that mirroring process. Now, this is easily adapted to the phone. You want to do the exact same thing, but instead of body language, you're doing it through, can you guess? Tonality. You pay special attention to their pitch and their energy level. 9% of the communication you engage in on the phone is going to be the words you choose. 91% is your tonality. So tonality, you've got to practice this over and over and over again to master it. But begin by, after about 30 seconds, by mirroring your prospect. And when you feel you've established a connection, that's when you want to break that following and start leading them through. Now, leading them means giving your prospect ideas that they can easily visualize. One of the things you can do is add the word because at the end of every request. You can add visual elements to your descriptions and to your stories. And always remember to get your prospect to do the little things for you. This is how you know you're actually leading the conversation and in charge. Henry Ford said you can't build a reputation on what you're going to do. So you're going to have to start actually engaging in these activities on a regular basis. So begin mirroring, do it with your friends, do it with your close personal relationships, and my goodness, do it in your sales life. And practice. Begin about 30 seconds in, focus on their tonality or their physical presence, focus a little bit less on their words. When you feel you've established that connection, I want you to break that rapport. You start leading it. You lead the pace, you lead the energy, you lead the tonality. And if they follow you, that's when you know you're leading that conversation. Now, let's move on to anchoring. Anchoring is a form of NLP, which is can't say it. It's a form of neuro-linguistic programming. That's what NLP stands for. It's a technique to create triggers personal to you or personal to your prospect that change their psychology and actually change their state of mind. NLP works essentially by associating a moment in time where you or your target actually experienced a very specific certain emotion with a very specific kinesthetic event. Kinesthetic means something you're feeling. So by kinesthetic, it could be something as squeezing your fist, hearing a sound, smelling a particular smell, touching your hand, touching your face, scratching your head, scratching your forearm, whatever it's going to be. Anchoring is an effective way for every sales professional as it allows you to instantly enter into different states of mind, such as certainty, calmness, at appropriate times during the closing process, so that again, you can control yourself, your psychological state, and your emotional state. That's why it becomes so important. If you've ever lost control in a sale because you got challenged, or you're in an argument with somebody and you lost control, or you're dealing with customer service, you got very angry, this could be for you. Whenever someone has a strong emotional response to any kind of stimuli, they will naturally connect anything that's unique in their immediate environment to the emotion that they're feeling. Sales is all about emotions. For example, let's assume a particular play or song is playing on the radio. We see this a lot in movies. An accident happens or somebody gets a breakup call or breakup text, whatever it is. And there's a certain song playing on the radio. And later on in the TV show or the movie, they end up associating that song with that emotional event. You can use that to your advantage. That song can become an anchor. Hearing again can remind them of a traumatic event, but you can use it to remind yourself of a great emotional high that you had. They can be positive, they can be negative, they can be auditory, they can be olfactory, they can be visual. It could be the way dinner smelled at grandma's, okay? It could be celebrating after a particularly successful negotiation. It could be the feel of your favorite shoes or that super comfortable t-shirt you love to wear. These can all be emotional anchors for yourself. Now, again, the time to set that anchor is when you're at a peak emotional state, such as when you walk out of that meeting after closing a sale. At that instant, when you're at that peak, this is when you want to create that emotional anchor. When you hang up the phone after completing the sale, maybe close your eyes, stay in that moment, intensify that emotion, squeeze your fist, say, yes, pump your fist, yes, hold on to that feeling. You want to expand on it for about 10 seconds. And the next time you need to get into that state of certainty, you can pump your fists. You see people doing it at concerts, pumping their fists, screaming, yelling, because they're in that emotional state. Visualize yourself from that moment when you close that sale, you hung up the phone, you walked out of the meeting, you had that signed contract in your head or in your hands. Visualize that, associate it, do this, hold on to that feeling and create that anchor. There are lots of types of anchors you can do. Again, we can do smell, which is a very powerful anchor. You can anchor to the certainty of a closed sale. You can anchor to the certainty of a friend having a successful moment whatever that may be, scoring a goal, getting the date with that girl, whatever it is. The more you use an anchor, though, the more diluted that effect will become. So you want to specifically use these anchors to the most important, the strongest area where you want that help. Recharging and resetting it every time you recreate that event and you make the bond between the anchor and the emotional event. You want to keep strengthening that bond and that connection. When talking to a client or a candidate, you can ask him or her how they filled that last opening. So what I'm doing here is I'm anchoring their story, their emotional state to the last time they hired a candidate. Then when it comes time to get them to make an offer to my candidate, I want to recreate that anchor. I can do that with them by, well, this one would be a little bit difficult for me, running my hand through my hair. I could scratch my nose. I could pull on an earlobe. I can create a visual reference when they're excited, and then I can pull that visual reference back out when I want to recreate that moment of excitement. They're talking about their success. I can ask them, so was that a good decision? And when they say yes, I can anchor it even with a sound, something unique that maybe you don't very often do. You could adjust your glasses. There's any little things you can do, but they can't be things you do frequently. They have to be things that are unique to that individual moment that you can recreate on command. You want to do this every time they get it back into that emotional state that you want to connect it to and you want to bond them to. Okay. Then after you've done that bonding and that connection, you want to change that subject into something else that has little emotional resonance. That will actually amplify the emotional resonance you created that bond and connection with. And then when it comes time to bring that emotion back, you simply bring back that activity that you did. Here's another one. You can bring donuts to your client. Every time you show up, there's that emotional anchor. I got some yum yum treats, something super delicious. Of course, if they're very health conscious, maybe you should do something other than donuts. Giving a candidate interview tips, preparing them for an interview could be used as an emotional anchor. So what I want you to do, your homework for this following week is going to be to create an anchor, find times and opportunities to employ it, work it in where you can. It can be business related, it can be personally related, and then just simply employ it. Do it over and over and over again. And I want to leave you with a final thought on this. Ability is what you're capable of doing, but motivation determines what you do, and attitude determines how well you're going to do it, or how well you will do it, to get the quote from Lou Holtz right on the money. So do your homework, correct these moments, or find these moments, connect, bond these anchors to those emotional highs. Do it internally, do it with your prospect, practice, 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 make it a habit. In fact, why not create an anchor for yourself so that when you know somebody else is having an emotional peak, that you're automatically going to create that anchor with them. There's an idea. I hadn't even thought of that till just now. Do that. Find your challenges, find your issues, email them to us at deeprecruiting@teamgtn.com. The more challenging they are, the more likely we're going to bring it up and try to come up with a solution for you in this process. This has been Deep Recruiting with Jim Bright. We really appreciate your likes, your comments most importantly, and your shares. Let other people know about us. Help us grow this network. The more we grow the network, the more challenges people are going to email into us, and the greater opportunities we're going to have for everybody to develop their skills, and a rising tide lifts all boats. Am I right? This has been Deep Recruiting. Have a great week, everybody. Close that sale. Be a success. Use the NLP of anchoring. Use the NLP of mirroring as we went over in this project. Have a great day, and thanks so much.